Tonight, 3 true accounts from people who went into the wilderness alone and came back knowing they hadn't been alone at all. Rachel had been solo camping for 6 years. She knew what she was doing. She had a bear canister, a satellite communicator, a fixed-blade knife, and a campsite she had used twice before. A small flat clearing off a non-maintained trail in the Willamette National Forest, about 4 miles from the nearest trailhead. No designated campground. She arrived on a Friday. She set up her tent facing the tree line. She cooked her meal, filtered her water from the creek 15 yards downhill, and was in her sleeping bag by 9. At 2:17 a.m., she woke to footsteps. Slow, deliberate, close enough that she could hear the soft compression of wet leaves. She told herself it was a deer, maybe elk. She had heard both before in the dark, and both can move with a weight that sounds wrong until you remember what they are. But these footsteps stopped, right outside her tent door. She didn't move. She put her hand on the knife. For 11 minutes, she checked her watch afterward. Nothing happened. No sound, no movement, no animal smell through the mesh. Then the footsteps started again, moving away, slow, back into the trees. She lay there until first light. She told herself it was nothing. Then she stepped out of her tent. According to the Lane County Sheriff's Office incident report filed the following Monday, the ground around Rachel's tent bore a clear set of boot prints. Size 11, men's tread. They had circled the tent twice. She counted the circuit herself before touching anything, and stopped for an extended period at the door. Her prints were the only others at the site. Forest Service rangers, responding to her report, located a semi-permanent camp roughly 300 yards into the tree line. A fire ring, food scraps, a tarp strung between 2 firs. The camp appeared to have been occupied for several weeks. No one was present when rangers arrived. The occupant of that camp was never identified. Rachel said she keeps going back. Shorter trips now. Never the same trail twice in a season. What I think about is the 11 minutes. Whatever was out there stood at my door for 11 minutes, and then it decided to walk away. She pauses when she says it. I don't know what changed its mind. Maya had completed the Appalachian Trail in sections over 3 years. She was not a beginner. She was alone on a 4-day backcountry loop in the Great Smoky Mountains, a route she had done once before with a friend and decided to repeat solo. Day 2 was long, 11 miles. She reached her permitted campsite on a ridge at around 5 p.m., made camp, and started her water treatment. The ridge had a clear sightline. She liked that. She could see a long way in every direction. That was when she first saw him, a man on the trail, about half a mile out, standing still. Not hiking, not checking a map, just standing, facing in her direction. She assumed he was resting. She turned back to her stove. When she looked up 10 minutes later, he was closer. He hadn't moved onto her campsite. He was off-trail, in the trees just below the ridgeline, standing in the same posture, still facing her. She packed her cook kit without eating. She kept her eyes on the ridge. He didn't move. At dusk, she zipped into her tent. She did not use her headlamp. She sent a message on her satellite communicator to her husband. Man watching camp, on trail early tomorrow. At 6 a.m. she was moving, fast. 2 miles from the trailhead, she passed a park ranger coming in on patrol. She described the man. The ranger's expression changed. According to the law enforcement report, the man matching Maya's description had been reported by 2 other solo female hikers on the same loop in the preceding 5 days. In both earlier accounts, the subject had been seen at distance, watching without approaching. Park rangers located him the following morning at a campsite 2 miles from where Maya had stayed. He had no valid permit. He had no registered itinerary. He had a notebook. Inside the notebook were descriptions of hikers, physical descriptions, campsite locations, tent colors, what time their lights went out. He was detained and removed from the park. The charges were misdemeanor trespass and permit violation. The notebook by itself was not a crime. He was released. Maya filed a formal statement. "The thing I keep thinking about is that he had been doing it for at least a week before I got there. 3 of us saw him. There were other people on that loop who never mentioned anything, which means they never noticed him at all."